Am I the idiot for telling my mother that my husband is not her replacement son? My parents have 2 kids, me, 26, female, and my brother Dan, I'm 34. Dan had a rough time growing up and frankly, my parents failed him. As a teenager he struggled with severe addiction and mental illness, and they did almost nothing to help him. By the time he was done with college, he had completely cut off my parents. To this day, Dan and my parents are still estranged. I, on the other hand, still speak to my brother regularly. My parents, especially my mom, take every chance they can get to mourn the loss of their son and act as though my brother wronged them by leaving. Dan has told me he wouldn't mind reconnecting with them, but only if they reach out and apologize first. I've encouraged my parents to do this, but they insist that he betrayed them. I got married early last year to my husband Jeff. We have a happy marriage and he is adored by all my friends and family, but I feel like my parents have been crossing some boundaries. For example, whenever we've gone to visit them, they insist that he sleep in Dan's room, saying that their son, my husband, has come home and should sleep in his rightful bedroom. Before the pandemic, my dad would take Jeff out to sporting events and introduce him as his only son. Most of the pictures of my brother in my childhood home have been replaced by pictures of my parents with Jeff. The other day, my mom called to invite me and Jeff over for the holidays. I told her I wasn't comfortable traveling during a COVID spike. She was irritated but dropped it. Then she called Jeff and begged him to visit without me because apparently, it's cruel for a mother to be without her child on Christmas. Jeff politely told her he wasn't going to visit without me. She's been emotionally blackmailing him ever since, sending him pictures of stockings with his, my mom's, and my dad's names on them and saying, "But we already promised so-and-so that our son will be in town." This felt ridiculous and unsettling, so I called her up yesterday and explained to her that she's violating our boundaries. Jeff is not her replacement son, and no matter how much she pretends she doesn't have an actual son, she does, and it is her responsibility to make up for the damage she did to that relationship before it's too late. She started crying and called me cruel for mentioning Dan, and said I have no idea what it's like to be a mother, and it's disgusting that I'm trying to deprive her of a son when she has already lost one by keeping Jeff away from her. My father agrees with my mother and Jeff agrees with me, though he doesn't like to rock the boat and thinks I should apologize anyway. I thought I did the right thing, but now I'm really not sure if I went too far. Am I the idiot? Edit. Thank you all for the support and advice. I appreciate it so much. I haven't been able to sleep, so I've been reading every comment. I don't know if I have the emotional energy to post in Just No Mother-in-Law yet, but I'm reading a lot of what's posted there, and already feel less alone. My tentative plan is to arrange for me and Jeff to get individual therapy and maybe couples therapy later on. We're going no contact with my parents for a while. I'm also planning to invite Dan to stay with us over the holidays. I have a lot to make up for and I want to spend as much time as I can with him and let him know he's loved. Edit 2. Also in response to the people pointing out the gross incestuous implications behind this. With the way my parents talk about me and my husband, most people who didn't know me growing up assume that I'm their daughter-in-law and Jeff is their son until one of us corrects them. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. And your parents sound very abusive emotionally. If you plan on having kids, set your boundaries well before you start that journey. Comment 2. Not the idiot. They are hurting and in denial. Instead of putting in the effort for Dan, they want to just snap your husband in like a puzzle piece. Can you recommend therapy for your patents and Dan to mediate? I know this puts your husband in a tough spot too. Now for the update. People have messaged me asking for an update. Well, I'm happy to share good news. My husband and I went no contact with my parents as many of you suggested. We have also both started going to therapy. We have only had 3 sessions each, but I can definitely say it has been a total relief to process things that I have been bottling up my entire life. I already feel like I can understand myself and the clusterfuck I grew up in significantly better. Kinda kicking myself for not trying it sooner. Jeff has felt the same way with his sessions from what he's told me. Under professional advice, we are holding off on couples therapy until we do a few more individual sessions, but we hope to start in the near future. Now for the main good news. My brother Dan is spending the holidays with us. After taking health precautions, he drove up last week and is staying with us past New Year's. Having Dan around has been incredibly special for me and Jeff. Dan and I have been making up for so much lost time, and I've never seen him smile so much, and it warms my heart. I did tell him about this situation with our parents and Jeff before he came. It was hard to hear, but Dan has a really strong support system and seems to be processing it in a healthy way. He's coming up on 7 years sober now. I was finally able to apologize to him for not stepping up as a better sister earlier in his life and enabling our parents' abuse. He said he doesn't blame me, but I still want to show him through my actions that I will always be there. My parents have been pretty much losing their poop this entire time, especially when they found out Dan is with us. As a people pleaser, I'm proud of myself for being firm and maintaining my boundaries. Right now my heart is filled with more love and joy than it has been in a long time. I know life won't always be like this, but my brother is safe and healthy and happy and knows he is loved, and that is everything to me. I am sincerely appreciating what I have. Anyway, happy holidays everyone. Thank you again for your help. Comment 1. I remember your post. You definitely did the right thing going no contact, and honestly you should stay no contact. They're never going to learn. Look at what your brothers went through for several years. Comment 2. I have toxic parents and going no contact was the best thing, hardest too, I've ever done. I am so proud of you. You are amazingly strong and I do hope you recognize this. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for interrupting my son's date so he could pick up his little sister? I'm a single father, male 43, to 2 children, Max, male 17, and Liza, 8F. I usually have Liza in after-school clubs so that I'm able to pick her up after work. However, last evening I was given some work that had me working overtime. I did try my best to negotiate out of it, but my manager told me that the assignment was to be completed by that night, so I just did. It was nearing 6 p.m., and I just knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Liza, so I called Max and asked him to pick her up. He responded by saying that he couldn't because he was on a date with his GF for their 6-month anniversary. I told him that I understood, but that I really needed him to get Liza and that I'd make it up to him for interrupting. He just angrily turned off the phone, and I thought that while he was mad he had just decided to pick her up. 30 minutes later I received a call from Liza's school about where I was because the school was close to closing down, and no one was there. Luckily one of Liza's friends' mother said they'd drop her off, and that was all good. However, I don't really like it when Liza goes with that particular friend, not because of the friend but because of the mother. She has this habit of asking math questions in the car that she knows Liza is unable to answer, and then criticizes her over it. It's all just very mean. I called Max and asked him where he was and that he was in big trouble when he got home. He just told me that he was busy and to leave him the hell alone. He came home at around 9 p.m. I told him he was grounded and that he was not allowed to use the car for a good 3 weeks. At that he got all mad and said that it wasn't his fault I was failing as a parent and unable to afford someone to collect Liza. Just want some insight on this situation. Was I being too harsh, and am I the idiot for interrupting his date? Edit. This is the 3rd time I've asked Max to pick up his sister in the span of a year and a half. Some people are asking why I don't have a nanny. Money is tight. Max and Liza's mother is not present in their lives, and no, I did not think of socializing myself with the parents at Liza's school. I am at work most times, so I haven't found time outside of the yearly parent meetings. Please refrain from insulting my son. Now for a few comments before the update. Okay, I'll take the bullet here, not the idiot. You're not failing as a parent. You had to work overtime, not out drinking or freaking off. Your son was in the wrong here for not helping, turning the phone off and calling you out for it. But you two need to talk this out and discuss expectations. If you expect him to be part of the contingency plan, there needs to be crystal clear on that. And what happens to car privies when he doesn't? Comment 2. Posts like this make me feel hopeless for us as a society, as a species. You'll get a lot of responses from people who haven't raised kids, many still are kids, and they haven't been taught responsibility and family. Asking your son to help in an unexpected situation is not, and should not be, a problem. Your son's response is entitled and gross, honestly. While being disappointed at the interruption would be fine, even appropriate, hanging up on you is disrespectful, and refusing to help is selfish and disgusting. Now, for the update. Hello all, thank you very much for the comments left on my post. I spent a good hour going through threads and seeing what everyone had to say. Reading the comments made me realize that I had been quite soft with Max's upbringing, which made him feel comfortable speaking to me the way he did that night. I also have to admit that I have spoiled him, handing him everything he asks for, probably because I don't want him to feel like he lacks all the things his peers have because he doesn't have his mother in his life. Not really the best reasoning. I had a discussion with Max about what happened a few days ago while Liza was away. He did try his best to have his grounding removed and car privileges back, but I stayed firm and that kind of shocked him. He's used to getting his way, but he understood he was in the wrong. Max did get quite emotional during the conversation and apologized for his behavior. That night and before, he knew that while he was too late to fix his past mistakes, he'd make sure not to repeat them. He even offered to pick Liza on days when he didn't have soccer training or plans. After many comments advising me to do so, I made an anonymous complaint to HR about my manager's tendency to bring up last-minute tasks. Apparently a few other people in my department have also had this happen but were unafraid of saying anything in fear of losing their jobs. From what HR has emailed us, it's currently being dealt with. I was embarrassingly unable to say anything to Liza's friend's mother except for giving her a few dirty looks. While she wasn't looking, there were many comments questioning what I would do in the case this happened again, and right now it's Max. We've had a mutual agreement, and he's understood that he needs to also help out in the family. The situation isn't ideal, but we're making it work. Once again, thank you all very much for the comments/advice given. Comment 1. Was looking forward to an update on this situation, glad to see you could come to some sort of agreement between you and your son. Don't be too hard on yourself about his behavior. You may have spoiled him, but it seems like he still knows when he's in the wrong and not. Wishing you and your family the best. You seem like a good dad who's just trying his best to raise his 2 kids to be good people. Comment 2. There is never a perfect situation. The lady was rude, completely out of character for you, then helped the mother out and grabbed the kid and figured it out. I'm glad you all figured it out. You always try to give your kids more than you ever have to make them happy. It backfires. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. See you next time.